Hi Donna, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Jacinthe?
I'm very glad to welcome you here in the Laurentian Forestry Center. Today I think it's a very good timing for me to introduce you to Solange Nadeau, that is one of the researchers here looking at the social science and having some very nice projects, very enthusiastic projects with some communities in which they will be included in the planning stage until the end of the project. This is not something that we used to have, and this is mainly because we started to look at projects with some more considerations of partnerships, how we can build up the partnership and how make sure that the social acceptance of projects be integrated and included in the way that we are planning projects. So if you don't mind, I will introduce you to Solange.
Bonjour Solange, nice to meet you. It's great. I had a fantastic visit here today. So I'm quite interested in the work you're doing on social sciences in forestry because I really do believe that there's a huge benefit for us in the physical and natural sciences to integrate the social sciences in the very beginning and the early stages of our planning of our science projects. Because in the end, those that will benefit from our science are the people. So it's great that we are integrating social sciences. So tell me a bit about you and a bit about how the idea came about to do this project.
Yes, I've been a researcher with the Canadian Forest Service for about 16 years now, always working on social aspects of forestry issues. And the latest project is a project in Alberta, and it's about restoration of sites that have been used by the oil industry. So once they're done, there's requirement to do restoration of the site when it's finished. And when we looked into the current practice, there's a few things that are not working so well. So that's how the Canadian Forest Service got engaged in trying to improve restoration practice. And we thought, since the project was based in an area that's under treaty, we would look into how we could engage a First Nation to also work in the project and provide us with more insight of how restoration could meet their need and their value and be useful for their traditional and cultural use of the land.
And I think the project is in the Cold Lake area, right?
Yeah.
And so what are the key objectives of the project specifically?
Yeah, the project is really to document the perspective of First Nation, because in the past and in the literature we see that restoration as it is done now doesn't meet their expectation. So we wanted to figure out what would success look like for Cold Lake First Nation. So we held different meetings with the community. We did some field work and to understand their perspective on restoration.
And I think there are many more partners than just the First Nations. I believe industry also participates in this project with you.
Yeah, the project, my part is a little piece in a big project, and in the big project we have about 25 partners with the industry, university, some governments and some NGOs. So it's a a bigger, larger project. But for the start, it's a 5-year project, and for my part, the beginning had to be about the First Nation to understand their perspective, and the next step will be how can we make change so the First Nation found that restoration would be more acceptable for them.
Because the end goal is the First Nations will be the users and will be the ones that will benefit from the restoration and the forest, so might as well restore with their needs in mind from the very beginning. I guess.
And it's treaty land too, so there's all kind of agreement about how the land would be managed between us, government, and First Nation, and they were there way before us, and they will be there after the oil industry is done with their activity, and maybe after the forest industry. So it's about what is needed for them to keep doing their activity and maintain their culture in this area. So.
And where are you at now, and what are the next steps, and what's left to do, and a bit about the benefits for the First Nations?
We just completed the first part of the project, like to document the vision and what should restoration look like. So we're starting to do knowledge transfer to tell, like, we've done it with the community, so this part is good. We know they agree with the main finding, and they're okay for us to start spreading it around. So we'll start going to conference and talk to the partners, because so far there haven't been any exchange on the first result. Like, we really wanted to have the validation from the community before we go ahead, and for the presentation too, they're a partner in our presentation, so it takes time to agree on message and what we're saying, and so that will be the main next step, and see how we bring that into actual restoration project, maybe develop a test, or that's what we'll design next.
Thanks for talking to me. I think we'll see more and more of these sociological aspects and the blend between, or the integration between, social sciences and physical and natural sciences as things evolve. So thanks a lot. That was a great conversation.
Thank you.